The Scorpios rex, known as the Piercing King, was a genetically engineered hybrid theropod, an apex predator born from a deliberate fusion of prehistoric giants and modern day specialists. Designed as a prototype for the next generation attraction of Jurassic World, it possessed traits that no single natural dinosaur ever evolved, giving it a lethal combination of size, agility, and adaptability. Now that sounds like a solid theropod in itself, but how would it fare in an ecosystem utterly unfamiliar to it? Would it step up to the challenge, or would it suffer an unfortunate fate? G'day everybody, I'm your host, and today we are figuring out if the Scorpios rex from Camp Cretaceous could survive the Cretaceous period, more specifically the Judith River Formation. Here it would stand as a foreign intruder, utterly unlike the native predators, with the potential to destabilize the entire ecosystem. As always, make sure to like and subscribe, and let us jump into this. So first things first, what exactly went into the genetic recipe for this hybrid? While the complete genome of this dinosaur remains a mystery, evidence suggests that its primary contributors included Tyrannosaurus rex, Carnotaurus, and Velociraptor, with the addition of the classic tree frog and the surprising twist of scorpion fish DNA. Each of the prehistoric additions allowed it to inherit raw predatory power, agility, and lightning-fast reflexes. Meanwhile, the modern genetic additions are no less alarming. The scorpion fish in particular grants it a venom delivery system unlike anything found in nature's own theropods. This hybrid measured in at roughly 8 meters or 26 feet in length and stood at around 3.5 meters or 11.5 feet at the head. Its weight, however, was rather unknown, though if I were to estimate, I believe it would clock in at approximately 1.5 to 2 tons. This would make Scorpios rex a medium-sized theropod. This allowed it to be rather imposing while maintaining a surprisingly lean and agile frame. Its long muscular limbs ended in hooked claws capable of tearing flesh or anchoring down prey. The head of the Scorpios rex is proportionately large, but closer inspection reveals it to be oddly malformed. Its skull seems to be almost asymmetrical in places, with a slightly irregular jaw alignment that gives it a vaguely unbalanced look. Its teeth are even more unsettling, being irregular in size, shape, and placement, pretty much just jutting out at different angles as though it grew without a single unifying blueprint. This mismatch in dental arsenal, while intimidating in appearance, would almost certainly compromise its biting mechanics. Since no exact figure for its bite force has been released, we can only speculate, but the lack of unity in tooth structure suggests that it likely had a way weaker bite force than that of the Tyrannosaurids. It is, in other words, far less the bone-crushing powerhouse and more so bite down and inflict as much damage as possible. Its body, however, tells a bit of a different story. Its long muscular tail acts almost like a counterbalance, allowing for exceptional agility. It can whip sharply from side to side, aiding it in sudden directional changes, providing the hybrid an edge in close quarters chases and quick evasive maneuvers. The Scorpios rex's positioning often changes from bipedal to quadrupedal and vice versa depending on the situation. The proportions of its limbs allows it to have the ability to launch a startling burst of speeds. It was shown to be capable of outpacing a Gallimimus in a short sprint. That being said, its build doesn't necessarily support sustained top-end speeds. It is more likely a rapid accelerator than a long-distance sprinter. While it can match or even exceed a Gallimimus for the first few seconds, it would almost certainly be outran at maximum speeds, especially considering a group of teenagers were able to avoid it. When it comes to abilities like the Indominus rex, it does have a few tricks up its sleeve. The Scorpios rex possesses a form of thermal vision which allows it to detect the body heat of prey even in total darkness. This adaptation makes it a formidable nocturnal hunter, capable of tracking targets through dense foliage or complete visual cover. The Scorpios rex's most alarming trait that sets it apart from both real theropods and other hybrids is its venom delivery system. Borrowed from the scorpion fish, venomous spines line its tail, elbows, and base of its neck, making any close encounter potentially lethal. The venom has been proven to be devastating. In one case, it dropped a Brachiosaurus almost instantly. However, in another case, a group of teenagers had enough time to deliver an antidote. So yeah, clearly there is a bit of variation, potentially suggesting its toxicity is especially potent against dinosaurs. Its mind, however, is far less refined than its arsenal would suggest. Unlike the calculated cunning of the Indominus rex or the focused coordination of the Indoraptor, the Scorpios rex is ruled by erratic impulses, prone to abrupt changes in target or objective. It is often driven more so by instinctual bursts of aggression than by long-term strategy. This unpredictability makes it volatile and dangerous dangerous to both prey and rivals alike, but it also means it may squander opportunities or make costly mistakes in high-stake confrontations. It hunts with a blend of stealth and brutality, preferring to wound prey through claws, teeth, or venom. This minimizes risk in an ecosystem already dominated by formidable predators. Primarily nocturnal, it is able to utilize the darkness to conceal its whole body. It's able to scale trees, cliffs, or even structures to ambush prey from above. By day, it mostly remains hidden unless a prey option makes itself known, though it's shown to be highly territorial, patrolling wide ranges, often targeting choke points that makes it difficult to escape. When it comes to its experience, it has repeatedly proven its capabilities, overtaking and taking down a Gallimimus, successfully ambushing a Ceratosaurus, facing a herd of Ankylosaurs, bringing down a Brachiosaurus with its venom, clashing with Blue the Velociraptor, and even battling another one of its own kind before being crushed by building debris. Though lacking the size of other hybrids like the Indominus Rex, it still possesses a mix of agility, stealth, and venom, which all combines to make it a unique but unpredictable predator. Now with the Scorpios Rex being introduced, let us see how it stacks up against the past. Kicking it off with its environmental suitability. Around 76 to 75 million years ago, the Judith River Formation bordered the western interior seaway, a warm, humid coastal plain under the subtropical climate. Seasonal rains swirled slow, meandering rivers into marshes, creating lakes, wetlands, and shifting channels rich with vegetation and dinosaur traffic. The landscape was a mix of all your classic habitats, from dense conifer forests to riverbanks to dry uplands. The average temperature of this region would have been around 24 degrees Celsius or 75 degrees Fahrenheit, ensuring year-round activity. For the Scorpios Rex, this would act as an ideal hunting ground. Its amphibian and reptilian traits suited the humid heat, while forests, swamps, and open clearings offered both cover and speed. Overall, the Judith River Formation would give it a decisive edge, earning it an environmental suitability score of 9 out of 10. But what about when it comes to the prey options available? Well, this formation's floodplains and uplands supported a rather impressive roster of herbivores, each offering different hunting opportunities for a predator like the Scorpios Rex. Among the most famous were the ceratopsians, and trust me, there were many here. Three standouts which roamed these lands included Avaceratops, Feructoceratops, and the most recently described Lokiceratops. Avaceratops was small by ceratopsian standards, being around 4.2 meters or 13.8 feet in length and weighing in at around 1 ton. Feructoceratops was also similar in length, measuring around 4 meters or 13.1 feet with an estimated weight of again a ton. These two would not really offer too much of a physical challenge. Given that the Scorpios Rex would weigh around the same even at its lower end estimates, it would be able to quite swiftly handle these prey options, making them the equivalent of pizza delivery. In stark contrast, Lokiceratops was a true giant of the horned dinosaurs within this region, stretching to 6.7 meters or 22 feet in length and weighing close to 5 tons, its ornate frill and horns making it as imposing visually as it was physically. Clearly, the smaller ceratopsians of this region wouldn't be the worst prey options. However, something with the size of Lokiceratops would undoubtedly pose a physical issue. While true it could offer more food than any of the others, it would be dependent on the Scorpios Rex's aggression level. Alongside them were the hadrosaurs, which formed a rather dominant herbivore group. Arguably the largest dinosaur of this region was Brachiosaurus, with adults reaching around 11 meters or 36 feet in length and tipping the scales at roughly 7 tons. This dinosaur could probably just crush the Scorpios Rex if it decided to fall on it. However, with its large size and lack of armor, it would be certainly vulnerable to the venom that the Scorpios Rex could deliver. There was also the smaller Corythosaurus, which grew around 7.7 meters or 25 feet in length and weigh in at around 2.5 tons. Now, there were obviously a number of other hadrosaurs that called this place home, but these two were the main figures. More challenging still were the armored dinosaurs. This would include Edmontonia, a nodosaur which was a low-slung fortress of bones and spikes. This walking unit would measure around 6 meters or 19.7 feet in length and weigh in at around 3 tons. A healthy adult would be a risky prospect for even a hybrid as mighty as the Scorpios Rex. This was viewed as the Scorpios Rex was shown to be unable to pierce the armor of an ankylosaur. While healthy adults may be protected, isolated juveniles could be brought down with persistence. In such an ecosystem, the Scorpios Rex would have access to a layered menu, from small quick hunts to multi-ton herbivores, allowing it to adjust its hunting strategies accordingly. The mix of body size sizes and defenses would ensure that every hunt would carry its own risks. That would also mean that this hybrid would never have to go hungry. With access to its size, strength, venom, and ruthless aggression, it would thrive with the prey options available, earning it a dietary score of 8 out of 10. Though even a dinosaur like the Scorpios Rex would not have roamed the Judith River Formation uncontested. This region was already home to several top predators. The most dangerous rivals came in the form of the Tyrannosaur family. Gorgosaurus was a vast, powerfully built predator measuring around 8 to 9 meters or 26 to 30 feet in length. Clocking in at around 2 tons, it may have not been the heaviest Tyrannosaur, but it was still matching or exceeding the Scorpios Rex when it came to pure mass. With long legs, a deep muscular skull, it was capable of being a pursuit predator, overpowering mid-sized herbivores. According to paleontologist Sakamoto's study, its jaws were capable of delivering a solid bite force of over 10,000 newtons. This would make any dinosaur getting caught in its jaws rather unlucky. Still though, this was not the largest terrestrial predator. Daspletosaurus was likely a bit bulkier and more robust than Gorgosaurus, reaching around 9 meters or 30 feet in length and weights of around 3 tons. Though a bit larger and possessing a greater bite force of over 15,000 newtons according to the same study, it was a theropod that could still give a solid chase, and if they were indeed gregarious, that would make them an even bigger threat. These Tyrannosaurids, although not as agile or versatile as this hybrid, could still be lethal in direct confrontations, particularly if the Scorpios Rex was caught in the open without the advantage of stealth. Other than being a direct threat, they acted as key terrestrial competitors. This is because they all are around the same weight class as the Scorpios Rex, meaning that most if not all prey options available would overlap between these species. Then we have the smaller and very much less dangerous Dromaeosaurus albertinensis. This theropod was around 2 meters or 6.6 feet in length and weighed in around 15 kilograms or 33 pounds. Let's be honest, this raptor posed absolutely zero threat to an adult Scorpios Rex, so yeah, that's about it for them. Arguably the most formidable threat was not on land, but rather lurked in the water, and let me tell you, it was no dinosaur. This competitor and threat came in the form of Deinosuchus, an enormous crocodilomorph which patrolled the river channels and estuarine waters. Adults could exceed 10 meters or 33 feet in length and weigh in at over 6 tons. Camouflaged beneath the surface, they would have been capable of launching explosive ambushes and even performing the classic crocodile death roll. That is right, not even the dinosaurs of the past were safe from getting torn to pieces by crocodilians. For the Scorpios Rex, a poorly judged river crossing or even an attempt to drink from the water's edge could spell its end. It honestly would have zero counters to a predator like this. Together, these animals formed a layered web of competition. Tyrannosaurs would have dominated the open country, Dromaeosaurs would have trailed behind, and Deinosuchus would have claimed the waterways. The Scorpios Rex, with all of its abilities taken into account, would have advantages none of these animals possessed individually. But in this world, size, numbers, and raw power still demanded at the very least a layer of respect. Survival would depend not only on its ability to hunt, but on its skill in avoiding becoming prey itself, as well as constant conflict, something which it struggles to do. Thus, I believe it would get a resistance to threats and competition score of 7 out of 10. Its overly aggressive nature would likely make many of the carnivores stay away from it, but again, Deinosuchus just poses too big of an issue to ignore. So now with the breakdown complete, it's time to get into the ultimate survival scenario. Does the Scorpios Rex have what it needs to thrive in this ecosystem, or will its unruly nature spell its own doom? Well, make sure to subscribe if you like these speculative survival scenarios, and let's figure out how the Scorpios Rex would truly perform. As with most of our ultimate survival scenarios, a mysterious portal would open up in front of the Scorpios Rex. The strange swirling light would cast jagged shadows across its angular frame. The heat emitting from the portal alone would cause the Scorpios Rex to cautiously step closer and closer. After its first few steps, it would then without hesitation slip through. On the other side of the portal would be a world both alien and familiar. Warm, damp air would immediately hit the hybrid, thick with the smell of mud, plant resin, and waterlogged vegetation. Beyond the wetlands, patches of higher ground would offer a different feel of the forest that it was used to. And the sounds, a distinct trigger for something like the Scorpios Rex, would all be quite different. Low resonant calls from hadrosaurs roll over the land. Ceratopsian herds snort and stomp through the undergrowth. This place is alive in a way the Scorpios Rex hasn't experienced before, and you would already know that it would already be sizing up what's food and what's trouble. Now, day one would not just be about charging into the open and taking down anything. it would be about figuring out the rules of the game. And the Scorpios Rex, for all of its unstable tendencies, is not a dumb dinosaur. It would quickly figure out that open floodplains are dangerous grounds. Comparatively large predators like Gorgosaurus and Daspletosaurus own that space. Instead, the Scorpios Rex would stick to the forest edges and swamps, where its dark pigment and quick movements give it the element of surprise. This is where its genetic toolkit really shines. It's got raptor level agility, venomous spikes for both offense and defense, as well as thermal vision to detect warm-blooded prey in total darkness. In a place where visibility drops fast at night and under the thick canopy, their heat detection is a real game changer. Its hunting strategy is now not restricted to instant takedowns. Instead, it could jab a prey animal with its venom, then shadow it until it collapses. This means less risk, less energy wasted, and fewer loud confrontations that might attract bigger predators. It will not take long before the local competition notices that there would be a new player in town. The smaller dromaeosaurs would certainly keep their distance. One unpredictable lunch from the Scorpios Rex would be lights out. But then there's the tyrannosaurs. Let's talk Gorgosaurus, with potent jaws and used to being near the top of the food chain here. An early encounter would certainly occur when the Scorpios Rex would stumble upon a fresh carcass, meeting face to face with an adult Gorgosaurus. Now, while most somewhat intelligent dinosaurs would back off then and there, the Scorpios Rex would not do so, instead becoming overwhelmingly aggressive and leaping at its would-be competitor. With its agility and brute force, it would topple the theropod before slicing into it rapidly, utilizing its malformed jaws to finish the encounter as quickly as it would have started. Give it a few weeks and the Scorpios Rex would start to map out this new world in its mind. It would learn the location of herd migration routes, the choke points where the prey has to cross rivers, and the mud traps along the swampy edges that can immobilize even armored dinosaurs. The water's edge though, that's risky business. That area in particular would be Deinosuchus territory. One bad step near this area would be fatal. I think the Scorpios Rex would be rather lucky early on, taking notice of thirsty dinosaurs getting snatched up by these giant aquatic predators. This would teach it to avoid those water spots unless absolutely necessary. When it comes to hunting, well, traditionally we know it's all about patience, but that is something the Scorpios Rex shows to struggle with. Over its many attempts, it would likely burn energy chasing dinosaurs around, though it would still be successful from time to time, taking down juvenile ceratopsians, smaller hadrosaurs, or isolated nodosaurids or pachycephalosaurids from larger herds. However, over its first few weeks, it would figure out what its favourite prey options would be. When it came to overpowering prey, small or young, hadrosaurs would be the choice of preference. Though when it came to the ceratopsians like Lokiceratops or larger hadrosaurs like Brachylophosaurus, it would rely on its quick-acting venom to do the bulk of the work. You have to remember that the Scorpios Rex is not a heavy hitter like the Indominus. A hit from a large herbivore like these two could very well result in an early fail to this challenge. Meanwhile, herds of Odmontia would not be all that affected. The Scorpios Rex would have likely learned from previous encounters to ignore or avoid all things Ankylosaur shaped. Even with somewhat careful hunting, which, let's be honest, it's not going to be doing all that much, there'll be times where confrontation is unavoidable. Let's say mid-season, the Scorpios Rex and a Daspletosaurus both set their sights on a wounded Ferroctoceratops. They both charged at the same time, both stopping in front of each other. Their prey of choice was able to drag itself away. The Scorpios Rex would not back down in this confrontation, meaning the Daspletosaurus didn't have a choice. It would charge in first, but the Scorpios Rex's greater agility would allow it to sidestep with blinding speed. It would slash at its thigh as the Daspletosaurus would bite into its shoulder. Without hesitation, the Scorpios would inject its venomous quills into the Daspletosaurus's torso. The two would separate for a moment as an unfamiliar roar echoed in the distance. Without a second thought, the Scorpios Rex would find a new interest and run off to investigate. Without too much time passing, the Daspletosaurus would succumb to the venom. The thing is, a lone Scorpios Rex, even with its advantages, would still find it somewhat difficult to survive within this ecosystem considering its aggressive nature. However, unlike the native dinosaurs which roam these lands, the Scorpios Rex carries the genetic quirk of being able to reproduce without a partner. This would mean months after its own arrival, without the presence of another of its own kind, it would lay a small clutch of viable eggs deep in a secluded swamp. While most hatchlings would fall prey to dromaeosaurs or get trampled by herbivores or maybe even get taken down by Deinosuchus, a few would survive by inheriting the parent's stealth and aggression. Over the years, they would grow and separate, being too aggressive to have overlapping territories. The original would also continue surviving despite its injuries, however, a dinosaur's luck could only run so good for so long. An unlucky hunt will lead to it chasing a hadrosaur across a particularly deep river. As the Scorpios Rex would just be about to leap onto its target, a 6-ton Deinosuchus would launch from from the water. Its jaws would crush it with a single bite before it would get dragged to the bottom of the river. Though in this scenario our main hybrid may have failed to survive, its offspring would continue to grow and populate the Cretaceous period, being one of, if not the most successful and dangerous hybrids ever. So could the Scorpios rex survive the Cretaceous period long term? In my opinion, absolutely. In the right conditions, it could perform really well. The Judith River Formation offers plenty of cover, abundant prey, and lots of opportunities for ambush hunting. With the Tyrannosaurs dominate the plains, the Scorpios could rule the shadows. Its agility, venom, and ability to climb provides it the tools that no native large predator would have. Also, its ability to reproduce solo means it could establish a population without finding a mate, causing a rapid population expansion. Of course, there are limits. It would never be the uncontested apex predator of this ecosystem. And while it's tough, it's not invincible. Injuries, disease, and food shortages could all still take it down. So with that being said, the Scorpios rex earns an ultimate survival score of 24 out of 30. Under the cover of darkness, it could become one of the most feared predators in the region. In this world, curiosity would keep it fed. So we've reached the end of the video and I hope you've all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below what you'd like to see next. I'll catch you on the next video. See ya, mates.